Hello, and welcome to the fourth video on species counterpoint. Today we'll be discussing the special rules for composing counterpoint exercises in second species. That means we will compose two notes in our counterpoint voice against each note in the given cantus firmus. Since the notes of the cantus firmus are written in whole notes, we will write the two notes of our counterpoint in half notes so that we have our desired 2-to-1 rhythmic proportion. The first note of the counterpoint happens on the downbeat, and the second note happens on the upbeat. Since both voices have notes that begin on the downbeat, those notes reinforce and accent one another, and the relationship between the cantus firmus and the first note of the counterpoint is a stronger relationship than that between the cantus firmus and the second note of the counterpoint. There is no way to compose in second species without creating a pattern of alternating strong and weak accents, and this creates a sense of meter. The rules for second species govern either what may occur on the downbeat or what may occur on the upbeat, and we will discuss each situation in turn. Then we'll discuss the term diminution, which is used by Fuchs throughout his chapter on second species, and although it isn't a very familiar term to modern musicians, it's an important piece of vocabulary for understanding species counterpoint. Then we'll look at how what happens on the upbeat can sometimes disguise what happens on the downbeat. Finally, I'll end the video by going over two unique conventions for composing in second species. There is only one rule for the downbeat, and it is pretty simple. On the downbeat of each measure, we are only allowed to use consonant intervals, the unison, third, fifth, sixth, or octave. Second species builds off of the rules that we learned in first species, so if you can remember and follow the rules of first species, then you can successfully compose on the downbeats of a second species exercise. On the upbeat, we may either use consonant intervals, following the same rules as first species, or we may use dissonant intervals if and only if they form what is called a dissonant passing tone. So what is a dissonant passing tone? Here is an example. On the downbeats of these two measures, we have first a perfect octave on the notes D, and then an imperfect third between G and B. On the upbeat of the first measure, we have the option of composing in a dissonant passing tone. A passing tone is approached and left by stepwise motion in the same direction. So if we put in the note C between the D and B of the counterpoint voice, we will have created a passing tone. Notice that C forms a dissonant harmonic seventh above the D of the cantus firmus. Since I've already used circles to indicate perfect intervals, I like to use boxes to remind myself to double-check that all of the dissonant intervals in my second species exercises are handled correctly. In this case, the dissonance is correctly approached by stepwise motion downwards from the note D of the downbeat of the measure, and is resolved by stepwise motion in the same direction downwards to the B of the next downbeat. Notice that two consecutive steps in the same direction will always outline the interval of a third from downbeat to downbeat. You have to plan ahead a little bit. It wouldn't be any good to write in the dissonant C in the first measure if we couldn't continue to the note B in the next. By the way, we can have consonant passing tones as well, like this one. However, the only two harmonic consonances that are a step away from each other are the fifth and sixth. Again, for it to be considered a passing tone, we must continue our stepwise motion into a consonance on the downbeat of the next measure. A passing tone is one special kind of diminution. A diminution was a common improvised ornament in the 17th and 18th centuries, where a written leap would be filled in by stepwise motion during performance. The passing tones that we looked at here serve to fill in what would otherwise be a leap of a third, which is the smallest possible melodic leap and the smallest kind of diminution. Of course, in this context, Fuchs is not thinking of the C on the upbeat as an optional improvised ornament, but he is using the vocabulary of ornamentation to emphasize the subordinate role that the upbeat dissonance plays in this passage. In second species, dissonances only occur on the weak part of the measure, and they are conceptually dependent on the consonances that surround them. A special problem arises in second species writing. In this example, the harmonic intervals are a perfect fifth, an imperfect third, and another perfect fifth on the downbeat of the next measure. On paper, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with this. But, because there are two perfect fifths on consecutive downbeats, the natural accent of the downbeat forces those intervals to our attention, and it comes out sounding like incorrect parallel fifths. To avoid this error, it is helpful to imagine your exercise with all of the upbeat notes removed. Now our exercise looks more like something from first species. Here, the parallel fifths are obvious. We could say that whatever happens on the upbeat will not disguise the perfect intervals on the downbeats. We will still be able to hear them clearly. There are cases, though, when the upbeat can disguise what would otherwise be a voice leading error between downbeats. Here we have a sixth that moves in direct motion to a perfect fifth, which would be incorrect in first species. If we write in the note G on the upbeat, we can disguise the voice leading error. Fuchs points out that the relatively large leap of a fourth from C to G is sufficiently distracting to counteract the natural emphasis given to the downbeat intervals. It is therefore easy to hear the contrary motion from the upbeat of the first measure to the downbeat of the second, and this renders the passage acceptable. There are two new conventions in second species that will make your life easier when practicing your exercises. The first is that in the first measure, you may begin with a half note rest in the counterpoint rather than two half notes. For some cantus firmi, that can be quite a helpful thing to remember. The second convention has to do with how the counterpoint ends. When writing a counterpoint above a given cantus firmus, the counterpoint will ascend stepwise in the penultimate measure to scale degree 1, forming the harmonic intervals of a fifth, sixth, and octave. When the counterpoint is below the given melody, the counterpoint will instead include a leap from scale degree 5 to the leading tone, forming an interval pattern of a fifth, third, and unison. Memorize these two cadence patterns, since they will be the same in all second species exercises. Now that you know all of the rules and conventions, here's the example Fuchs provides in Gradus ad Parnassum for a well-written second species exercise. Remember that we still use our ears to evaluate how successful the voice leading independence is of this polyphony. And we use what we know about melodic fluency to judge how well the counterpoint melody stands on its own. You now have all the tools you need to complete a counterpoint exercise in second species. I'll leave you now with a few more cantus firmi to practice with. This time the examples are all either major or minor, rather than modal. Be aware also that these cantus firmi use key signatures, unlike the earlier ones. The first one in particular by Albrechtsberger is probably my favorite cantus firmus.